Well, good evening, everyone, and thank you for joining me this evening for another Omega Insight. As you know, my name is Anne Marie, and I'm very grateful that you were able to join me this evening. I want to take an opportunity today to talk about something that I really enjoy, the fall. I think the fall is very beautiful, but we can learn so many lessons from the fall. So, tonight's topic for our insight, I'd like to discuss for a moment embracing change. So, when we embrace change, we also can release things. And since the fall is another cycle in nature, perhaps maybe we can learn a little bit about ourselves when we think about fall. So, fall's officially here. Maybe you feel it in the air, the cool breeze, the crisp morning. Well, maybe not in Arizona, but in other places, it's a very beautiful time of the year. It's when leaves are changing. They go from that vibrant green to beautiful, warm oranges and reds and yellows. It's one of those, the sweater weather. My sister-in-law loves the sweater weather. It's when you break out those sweaters and you get a nice cup of hot chocolate and can sit, and it smells just wonderful. Have you ever stopped to think about a deeper meaning of the season? I know winter, we have the season of holiday and giving, but what about fall? What can fall teach us? So, if we look at this, lessons from nature, we can say, I love to look at the trees. As a matter of fact, in the fall, it's one of the big, huge things. Families pack up, get in the car, and they go drive around to different areas and watch the changing of the leaves because it's beautiful. In the fall, the trees shed their leaves. So, they change their colors. And then finally, when we get to the end, just as about they get to winter, they shed their leaves. As a matter of fact, we call it the trees are losing their leaves. That's what we say. So they're completely letting something go of something they had all year. So those leaves have been on there ever since the spring. And now, as winter's approaching, they drop their leaves. So at first glance, we might be thinking, oh, the trees are losing something. But think about what happens next. All those fallen leaves go to the ground and they begin to decompose, turning into mulch, which nourishes the ground and then the tree itself. It's a beautiful cycle. So think about it. The tree sprouts the leaves in the springtime. Those very leaves that came from the tree fall down to the soil and then decompose, feeding. They become food back for the tree, and then out it goes. It sprouts again in the springtime. So the fall is about letting go. Beautiful, beautiful cycle. It's nature knows, but preparing for the season by letting go of those leaves, it's preparing for rest and renewal because in springtime, that's when the new growth will come. So, this process reminds us that change isn't just inevitable, it's essential. Those of you who know me, I talk about change, it's necessary. If you don't change, it's like water in Arizona that sits around for the summertime. It's not irrigated, it just sits in a puddle. It turns into stinky, stanky, manky water. I mean, you wouldn't feed your dog it, it's just gross. That's what happens to us internally if we don't change. We turn into stinky, stanky, disgusting people. So holding on to what no longer serves us is the first thing that we can work on for change. Now, this could be whether it's old habits, negative thoughts, unproductive routines, anything like that can stunt our growth. If we hold on too long, the harder we hold on to our stuff, the more difficult it is for us to change. Let's take a moment to reflect on this. What does that mean? Well, what are some things that you are holding on to that no longer serve you? Maybe it's a limiting belief. Maybe it's a toxic relationship or a fear of the unknown. Sometimes holding on feels safe, but in reality, it keeps us from growing. I've worked with people and they have said, well, yeah, it's a toxic relationship, but at least I'm not alone. Or, well, I know that I shouldn't be judging them, but, or, if I hate my job, I hate my job, I hate going to work, but, it's paycheck. All right, those are valid excuses with the exception of a toxic relationship or even you hate your job. It doesn't mean you can't look for another job. You can work at this job that you don't like until you find something new. Yeah, that works fine. But to stay in a job that day in and day out that you hate and you're not doing anything about it, you're going to be miserable. You won't find any joy or peace. You'll find depression, anxiety, nauseousness, just feeling stagnant. You'll be stinky, stanky, manky. And in toxic relationships, especially people who know the relationship is toxic and they stay because they justify. If you have to justify staying in a relationship, then that relationship is not for you. Every relationship should feel energetic and excited. You never should have to justify, you should be happy that I'm in this relationship, not justification of the relationship. I'm talking about toxic relationships when you know that that relationship is toxic, especially if it's dangerous. The idea is fear of the unknown. We'd rather stay where we are because we're afraid, what if we change and we lose everything? Well, that is a possibility, but maybe losing everything like the tree is what we need. So look at the things that you're holding on to and think about this. Ask yourself the question, what will I be willing to release this fall to ensure my growth? Now, again, I mentioned it could be uncomfortable. Even when we know it's good for us, we may not let go. We have to trust that letting go would ultimately nourish. So in that moment, it might be so fearful, but as we go through it, we actually discover that it clears the space for our lives for something better to take root, whether it's new habits, a healthier relationship, or even just a new mindset. So here's my challenge to you. As we move deeper into the fall, preparing for the winter, take some time to reflect on something that you're holding on to that no longer serves you. Write it down and ask yourself, what will happen if I let it go? So I did this. I wrote down 3 things. The first thing I wrote down was caffeine. A few months ago, we discovered that I am actually allergic to caffeine. Never heard of anybody being allergic to caffeine, but apparently caffeine is one of the triggers that sets off my migraines. Whoa. Did that mean I stopped drinking coffee? That's a perfect example. We know it's not healthy for us, but I love my coffee in the morning and the way it makes my throat feel and it wakes me up. So I actually switched over to decaf. Not as fulfilling, not as tasty, but I know making that change. So anyway, that's one thing was the caffeine, but the coffee isn't the only thing that has caffeine. Chocolate, tea, my green tea has caffeine in it. Like there's stuff that I still have that's caffeine. Sometimes every once in a while I'll have a Coke. I know that's not healthy for me. I get it. So that's one thing. The second thing I wrote down was binge watching, or, sometimes I get off of work and I'm just so tired. I don't want to do anything. I don't want to go for a walk. I don't want to take an extra half hour to work out. I just want to sit down and turn on the TV and watch something funny and lose myself in the day, especially if I've had a long day. So that's one of the things I do. And then the last thing I have is sometimes on the weekends, I just want to curl up and read a book. Not bad, but I always use the same genre. I'm always reading the same type of book. So if I think about change and something that I might want to do, well, here's the things I can think about. If I want to change, the caffeine's an easy one. Okay, stop eating caffeine, stop drinking caffeine. What can I do? Well, eat something healthier, drink something healthier. Water. I say with such a glee in my voice, but I can focus on something else rather than the caffeine. What will happen if I let it go? Well, I will have less headaches. I'll probably lose weight too if I let that go. If I stop the laying on the couch and not doing anything and actually exercise, I am certain, I know I will feel better. As a massage therapist, a retired massage therapist for 20 years, I had my own business as a massage therapist. I was physically fit. I was going to the gym. I felt healthy. I felt wonderful. Now, since I don't work out as much anymore, I'm sluggish and I'm tired. So I even know if I start exercising, I'll feel better. This ties into the idea of willpower. But again, I know that if I let go of the laying on the couch and just go on, heck, I could even put the TV on and get on my walking pad and just walk. get on the elliptical if I want to, or even my stationary bike. I'm sorry, I jumped over from the books. So the books, instead of reading the same genre of the books, I could read something different. I am telling you, I've had this book for a very long time. It's Real Relativity. It's the Theory of Relativity explained by Albert Einstein. This is not a book that I would pick up and go, woo, I can't wait. But there's nothing wrong with expanding my mind, looking into a book that's outside of my realm, outside of what I normally read. I think that's great. So, what will I do if I let that go? If I let go of reading the same kind of book? Well, I'll expand my mind. I'll learn something even. So, it actually will give me the space, as I said, for growth and feeling the difference. Now, again, I know change can be tough. I've already talked about that. But I also know it's necessary and incredibly rewarding. Let's embrace this fall season, not just as a time for watching the leaves to fall, but maybe some excitement to think about what we're going to release in our lives. When we let go of the old, as I've already mentioned, we're paving a path for the new. That's all I had to say today about feeling the seeing fall for the growth and embracing change here. On a side note, obviously, I'm going to recommend. Remember, we have an Omega 1 that is starting in November. We have one scheduled for November 22nd to the 24th. There's still room to register. Just go to the Omega website and you can join there. And the last thing I'd like to mention is, of course, we know the Hurricane Helene had just happened, and now Milton is on its way. So my thoughts and prayers are out to those who are in recovery stage from Helene and those who are in the path of the hurricane. I know there's the idea, hey, I'm going to ride it out. I've done it before. But honestly, the way I see it, what is a couple of hours? How much inconvenience is it for you to just pack up and get out versus staying and potentially losing your life? Or even if you survive, what's life going to look like if all the power is down and you can't get to food and blah, blah, blah. So this is my plea to you, for those of you who are in the path of the next storm coming up, Milton, please get out. Take care of yourself. Take care of your loved one. Go evacuate and stay safe. So my prayers and thoughts are to those of you who are recovering from the hurricane that just happened and the ones who are facing it. Do something different. Perhaps maybe you always ride it through. Try change and evacuate is what I would say. I know I'm laughing a lot about that, but seriously, this is heartfelt. Please take care of yourself and be safe. So that's all I have for today. I look forward to seeing you the next time on the other side of Zoom. Hasta la pasta.